Friday night race night returns here on RaceSpotTV. We swing back across to the other end of the Pacific as we get set to go racing in Asia here for round number 9 of the iRacing Indy Pro 2000 Championship presented by Cooper Tires. Hello and welcome to Suzuka and welcome to RaceSpotTV. My name is Noel Rampo. I've got Lorenzo Bonda beside me in the commentary box with Hugo Luis down behind the cameras for tonight's race. So it should be a relatively interesting race here today. Full field of cars of 23 getting set to see what they can do for 15 laps here at the host for the Japanese Grand Prix over Formula One for what has been for the last few years here, Lorenzo.
It's going to be an interesting one of my favorite tracks overall. I think probably one of my top 5 favorite tracks overall. Really interested to see how these Indy Pro cars are going to tackle around the Japanese track. A highly abrasive track that needs some tire management, especially during the latter portions if you want to try to be on the range of attacking someone. It should be a very, very compelling race to watch.
It is a fast track, it is a flowing track, and you see that first sector that looked over the S's from that static shot. That shows just how much people love this racetrack. I mean, it is such a fun little track to get right. I mean, it is by far got to be one of the most satisfying tracks you could possibly find on the iRacing servers. It has a little bit of everything, doesn't it? It has the left and right S's, it's got the kinks, it's got the hairpins, it's got the fast sweeping corners, some medium speed, some tight little chicanes as well, and plenty of overtaking opportunities for these lightweight Indy Pro 2000 PM18s, which means we should be in for one thrilling race here today. 15 laps about to get underway. You can see qualifying presently underway here for the Suzuka International Racing Course as well. You are currently watching one of these drivers further down the midfield. That is David Porcelli working his way around, stamping that back end out as he darts his way up to the second portion of the sector toward one of the tightest corners that got on the course.
Yeah, some call this the Kobayashi. We call it a race spot, the Kobayashi hairpin, made famous by the Japanese driver Kamui Kobayashi. Very tight hairpin for you to make it as we watch the calendar right here, Nolan. Only 3 races after this one to go. Montreal, the Milwaukee Mile, which is going to be our last oval of the season in Road America. I expect very compelling race right here, but Montreal might be that one we saw last season. Is a little bit of a joker race of sorts, depending how you approach this race.
It very much could be. I mean, Montreal in of its own right is such a unique circuit as well, isn't it? It kind of is it's almost a Monaco. It is very tight and it's hard to overtake in the first half of the lap, but then of course you have that long straight that shatters every aspect of a Monaco layout you could possibly get, save for the little to no runoff area. So with all of this in mind, it's time for these drivers to focus up here to see what they can do here from Suzuka. Bodeford, unsurprisingly, back up where he belongs, up on pole position. Course, had to qualify a bit further down the field just 1 week ago at Mount Panorama. Today, though, he's back up on that front row where he wants to be, but Porcelli looking to chase him down.
Yeah, but the gap is way too wide right now. It's half a second that separates Bodeford to Porcelli. And the one thing about Suzuka, though, is it's funny how underrated. It's kind of funny. I would say it's underrated from the perspective of being a precision track, because it is so easy for you to make a mistake, especially over here as we're watching Alex Leto going through Dagner 1 and 2. Dagner is one of those corners, if you tackle the wrong way the first leg, you're eventually gonna botch the second leg. So every corner has a way of taking and maximizing its runs. So I would say getting a lap over here is probably right with Bathurst we saw last week as one of the toughest laps for you to nail it down perfectly.
And you're going to watch to see here as Alex Sevillano Ileto tries to dart his way around through the spoon curve and down that back straightaway. Of course, doubles as the start-finish straight for what I believe is called the West layout here at Suzuka. Now for the very fearsome 130-yard. It is such a difficult corner to pass by, virtually impossible. He just lifted off the throttle as he punches his way through, doesn't even flirt his way out towards the right side of the track, keeps it nice in tight, which is great. It's what you want to see for the Casio Triangle chicane, and out through the last curve. What kind of a lap here will the number 6 be able to set as he comes across the line, closing up on the 2-minute mark of 1:55.569. That's good enough for 5th.
That's good enough for 5th, but I could see a few lines that Leto could have actually done to maybe get a 10th or 2 that probably Wouldn't make a whole lot of difference in the qualifying. He would still be top 5, but maybe closer to Popple right there. Maybe a 55.3, 55.4 to 4.5. So it's going to be an interesting one as we see Pascal Martineau. Not on many cars on track because the lap is long, and if you make one mistake and you tow it back to the pit lane, you basically miss an entire lap, and that's the one thing.
See Pascal Martineau, one of the drivers we have not seen too much so far throughout this season, see what he can do with that number 17 entry. And of course, Martineau, one of those drivers who usually you would see down in some of the lower splits, but of course only one split here in round number 9. I mean, we will have a stacked field of 23 drivers, 18 which is at times, as you see Vaughn of the number 7 car going to go 5th fast out on the board. So Timothy Vaughn working to improve his timing as well as he comes to the close on his second lap. You look at a couple of the other guys that are looking around. That is Rowdy Moreland, the driver out of Florida, looking to see what he can do in his number 21.
Yeah, but not a whole lot of time left, so he would have to do the perfect lap right now and probably be in an F1 car to get towards the end, as we have only 20 seconds remaining. I think Moreland's just trying to get a feel of the track with this little time remaining, because I think our grid is already set for the day.
10 seconds left on the clock. Not going to be nearly enough time for Rowdy Moreland. Mario Marco will just manage to get across the line, I think, to log in a lap. Good enough for 8th place with the number 12 car. So with all of this said and done, let's take a quick swing down. Now we'll take a look at your starting grid here for round number 9 of the iRacing Indy Pro 2000 Championship here at the Suzuka International Racing Course. It's John Bodefer on pole position, and how about David Porcelli, 0.02 of a second behind him. From there, it is almost 0.6 back to Will Lyon down in the 3rd position to round out the podium. You got Lucas Popple down in 4th. Timothy Vaughn is in 5th with Alex Sevillano Aledo down in 6th.
7th place is Frank Nguyen with Mario Marco in 8th place. Julian Lanaz and Alex May round out the top 10. Mark Cooper and Francisco Roman round out row number 6.
That leaves 13th place driver of Jason Pedu down at 13th place. James Watson sits 14th. It's Marco DeFanti in 15th with Earl Setzer 16th. Alexander Fuller rounds out 17th with Mark Cadmore down at 18th.
And then the final cars around the grid. We still have a few cars that are on the 22, but they've not been able to probably take some time around the grid because time or maybe some driver mistakes. As basically everyone bought a few, I think 2 cars still yet to line up.
Of course, the drivers that did not set qualifying laps are lining up in the order that is mentioned here. You got Pascal Martineau, then David Bradley, Robert Lapointe, Rowdy Moreland, and Shane Holstein to bring up the tail end of the grid. Waiting on a couple of guys in the midfield, along with David Porcelli up there on that front row to grid on up before we get this 15 laps underway. It's not the highest of lap counts in the world, is it? I mean, it kind of reminds me almost a little bit of what we saw at Mount Panorama. I believe that was also, about a 14 lap race just 1 week ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
So not a high lap count, but of course it is a very long circuit, this one. But I will say it is a fun one. This race, I think, will just go flying right by us where we can even blink to notice what's going on.
And I believe it will be more close than we probably expect, because now Porcelli, we didn't see Porcelli's gap to Bodefer whenever this qualifying was over. It was, I think, just over 20 hundredths of a second. So it's so close between both drivers. Though we can see Porcelli putting a whole lot of a fight. A big fight towards the Alpine geodesic driver is going to be an interesting one.
So as you watch the cars exit 130R, the field of 23 strong getting set to kick it off here at Suzuka. John Bodefer up on pole, but not by much. David Porcelli looking to take the fight to the number 1 car, who has been up front so much today. What can the Alpine Stars geodesic racing driver do today? Pace car going to get set to pull down a pit road, and we'll get the answer to that question really shortly. Still weaving back and forth, trying to get some heat into the tires. Not a very long pace lap. And Bodefer waited to hold this field as they get stacked up behind him. Now he goes for the launch. Green flag is out, and we are underway at Suzuka. It's a mad charge up to turn number 1.
Oh!
Right in the background, 2, 3 around. Didn't even cross start finish. Look out for the field as 2, 3, 4 cars above us still wrecking deeper in the field. And that means it is about a top 8 breakaway up in front.
Jesus, I'm speechless as Bodefer managed to get away. Purcell got overtook on turn number 1 by the number 3 car of Will Lion. So now Purcell on the back burner a little bit, and he's going to have to claw himself back. But also the number 7 putting a whole lot of pressure over there as well.
So there are now a total of about 6 or 7 cars in pit road as a result of that mess. So we have lost about a third of the field early on here as you watch the top 8 single file themselves out and exit through that first sector up to a bit more of a technical section coming up to, as we have dubbed it, the Kobayashi hairpin. I'll tell you what, that was not the start at all we were hoping to get, and I have a feeling one driver tried to cut across. Saw a lot of guys were already making moves, even up here in this top group, and trying to make up those spots early before turn 1. I have a feeling somebody tried to make a move, and there wasn't any room for it.
Yeah, it's one of those perks of rolling starts instead of a standing start that we normally see in F3s or F1s that we see around Suzuka, right? You try to get the jump, sometimes the jump doesn't work as intended, and you get that foul up. It's unfortunate. Yeah, unfortunate big time. You don't expect to see something like that take place, especially on the opening lap. And usually the starts of these races are relatively calm and controlled. But up through 130R for the first time, Bodefer still leads the way from Lionel. Porcelli has fallen back to 3rd as a result of that race start. So Will Lion looks to see if he can potentially work his way up in that number 3 car, maybe take the race lead from John Bodefer. It will be Bodefer to lead the opening lap here from Suzuka. And it'll be a big drafting run being given to the 3 car who will try to run him down. And basically the draft is really big on the starts finish straight, because once you get out of the Castle Triangle, if you get a really good run going to turn number 1, you can basically have a little bit of a gap of 20 kilometers per hour as Bodefer hasn't fended off. That's interesting. As Bodefer manages to make the defense on the outside portion of the S's, going through Dunlop. Will Lion putting up a huge fight on Bodefer, as now also Porcelli has to fend off Vaughn because he's doing a really good second lap.
He certainly is. Will Lion has been applying so much pressure right to that number 3 car. Look to see if he can take that lead away early from the Alpine Stars Judas Racing driver. So the number 1 car going to have to try to fend off Will Lion with all of his heart. And you mentioned, of course, how awkward of a start that ended up being as a result of all of this mayhem that we've had here. Well, out of the 23 cars that have started, only 16 remained on track. So that just goes to show just how big of a wreck that actually ended up being, as see Cooper in pit road of the number 10 car as well. He's only been down there for a few seconds, though, so I wonder if potential struggles for Mark Cooper on his own opening lap, which wouldn't surprise me per se. I think it was right up in the middle of the thick of it, so it is going to be a top groupie here to break away. And here is the look at that start. Oh, Alex May cutting across the 11, and obviously that just sends him over to the 13, and from there, nowhere really anybody to go. The 18 car somehow managed to scramble around that. That was Earl Setzer that scraped through that by just the skin of his teeth in the number 18 machine.
I'm wondering if something technical or mechanical happened to Alex May whenever he started, because it is a weird incident to look at it, right?
It's a very weird incident, isn't it? I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a start that's ended up quite like that for a long time in this series. It's unfortunate it happens, but you'll always get those bad starts every now and again. And you see Bodefer still leading the way on this second lap of the race. Will Lion was able to close up a little bit, but wasn't able to do too much in order to try to work his way up there. And you can still see, this is another look from the overhead shot of that mess. And you're going to see Earl Setzer dicing through on the inside line there, just barely getting through. And still got guys kind of coming in full speed trying to get around it, and there's just no room for anyone to go.
Yeah, it's still, I do think there is something technical, Wheeler, like the screen blacked out or something like that, because...
Oh, hello. David Porcelli, just noticed him now down in 8th place from 3rd in one corner.
Well, I think it could be the victim of the dagger corner. Looks like it.
Take a look at this one here, coming on up over the hill. Takes a bit of curb. Oh, got onto the curb, and that shot him off into the gravel trap. Great job from Porcelli, though, to save that car. That could have been a heck of a lot worse than it was. Great rejoin as well. So he finds himself at 8th now through the spoon curve, right in behind Mario Marco. who is now up to 7th. We'll have to see if that battle can work up, and then Porcelli can work his way back up into the podium positions here. You still see John Bodefer being put under pressure from Will Lyon, who has just not been willing to back down from this fight for the race lead.
No, and the good thing is I think both of them are being slightly faster than Timothy Vaughn on 3rd place. So even though they're still battling side by side, at one point they were side by side going through the S's of turn number 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6 eventually. They still managed to get it away clean and break away a little bit from Porcelli and Vaughn a little bit, as now Bodefer fights back for the best lap of the race.
And further behind, Porcelli makes the pass up on Mario Marco for 7th up into turn number 1. Marco tried to leave the door closed, but Porcelli forced it open and found his ticket up now into 7th place. So Porcelli starts to slowly regain lost time. His next target, no doubt, now going to be Frank Newen up at the number 5 car, who will be trying to keep him at bay up for the battle for 6th place at the moment. You're right on board with Mario Marco. So, maybe he can potentially fight back here on David Porcelli, but I have a feeling with how much speed we saw Porcelli having qualifying throughout the first couple of laps, he's just going to charge up away with these positions.
I do think so as well. One of the tricky things is getting out from this twisty section from the S's all the way down to Dagner and get out of Dunlop properly, because Dunlop, like you saw with Porcelli, is a corner that, depending how you take it, you can understeer a little bit, and if you understeer and go directly into the curbing and there's a little bit of a patch of grass during your reacceleration, I can guarantee you the grip will want to give out immediately, even if you still have grip whenever you slightly touch the grass.
Of course, that grass and the AstroTurf and even the curbing, it can be so deadly here for these cars. Suzuka, we already saw that earlier today. I mean, you saw Porcelli just took too much, got beached up on the curb, and that pushed him wide into the AstroTurf and then eventually into the grass. So that's the one place you never want to find yourself. And how about Will Lyon? You saw him making a little bit of a look that time. Thought about going down the inside of the Casio Triangle chicane on John Bodefer for the race lead, but it just didn't end up going anywhere. The space to have a run down through the Casio Triangle really is never fully there, is it? But you have to try to make that pass up before you actually get to the chicane itself. Bodefer trying to break the draft. Can Lyon fight the outside as he sets the fast lap of the race? Not able to do so. And looks like Silvano Leto looking to make his way up past Lucas Popple. And that was the pass for 4th place. Heads up Frank Newen, just in behind them.
Yeah, and Frank Newen just in behind him, and we know that Frank Newen is a fast driver on these kind of tracks, so he can make up a few grounds. But the thing is, there's a little bit of an aero wash depending how you take these corners on the entry, so you have to be very cautious. And with the aero wash as well, you build up some heat on those front tires specifically as well. That will not give you the grip that you probably want, as we're now going to go into Dagner and look at the train of cars behind Leto that he has to fend off at that number 6 car.
I believe this is one of the highest positions that number 6 car has found himself all season long. So it's been a great performance so far for Leto. So that's kind of what I thought. He's usually running towards the edge of the top 10, but if he can hang on to that 4th place, this could be big for him in his season here. You can take a look at David Porcelli, though, now putting Frank Newen under fire. That's going to be the big challenge for Leto, is if Porcelli manages to work his way up to him now, trying to find the inside of Newen up into the smooth curve. Does he commit to it? Decides not to. Backs out at the last second. That was probably a wise move from David Porcelli. It's such a one-line type of corner, the smooth curve in these machines. It's not necessarily the greatest of ideas to send one up the inside there, especially on just lap 5 of a 15-lap race, but if he can get a good run, might be able to make a move into turn 1.
Yeah, or even depending how you get the draft over here, you can even make the move on the Castle Triangle. Let's take a look.
Oh, look out, Newen! Oh, everywhere! Oh, and Porcelli finds a way through, and how about that for an overtake? Jeez. That was a nail-biting moment.
You stole the words right out of my mouth, as I think also Leto had a little bit of a problem, and Porcelli just made the overtake, now trying to break away from the draft. What an insane sequence of events.
That, I think, was the closest we've got to a wreck, and had it been a save so far this season. You talk about 130R being a sketchy place, and that's exactly why the curbing, a dangerous place to be here at Suzuka. And it was a problem for Leto that caused him to lose out on 4th place and eventually 5th as well. Just got sideways at the exit of the Casio Triangle, but managed to wrestle that thing back underneath him. But He's now under fire from Frank Buin as a result, as you had seen Porcelli complete that pass out through the final corner. So we'll have to watch this battle continue to develop here. But Porcelli is now up a couple of more spots because of that. Now the only driver that's standing between himself and fourth, well, is Lucas Popple.
And it's Lucas Popple, and they're getting a little bit closer to Timothy Vaughn, but he's standing his ground quite firmly right there as we look at the biggest movers and uppers and downers in the field. That so far biggest movers: Martineau, Bradley, Moreland, and Shane Holstein, because of that lap 1 incident that we had, not lap 1, but lap 0 to 1 incident we have on the start of the race. And now Will Lyon wants to move up one more spot as he puts a big time pressure on the spoon against John Butterford.
Like Porcelli earlier in the field, just 1 lap to go, thought about making that pass with the spoon curve, not going to go for it though. You can see Boteford having to defend down this backstretch up to 130 yards, side by side through the left-hand kink. Almost never ends well in any car, so Will Lyon going to take the wise move and back out. Maybe to the Casio triangle though. He's there, Boteford defends. Lyon thought about the outside, but breaks earlier, backs out of the overtake attempt. Look at how close he's following, though, out to the Casio triangle. He's going to have that overspeed up for 1.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think Butterford is going to be able to fend off this time by, even though he's trying to work a few different lines. But it does look like he's not going to be able to make the dive on turn number 1, even if he wanted to. He could have gone for it, but it would be taking Senna-esque approaches into the track.
Wasn't happening that time through, but it goes to show that that battle is going to range on well past the halfway point of this one. We are actually, by the way, already going to be halfway through this next lap here, so that goes to show you just how quickly this race is flying past. Take a look at the battle for 4th place. Porcelli still closing up to the car of Lucas Popple and made that overtake as well down the front straightaway. So Porcelli 7 tenths quicker than Popple that last time through, and he is still a couple of tenths quicker lap than Timothy Vaughn up in 3rd, who is trying to see if he can maintain that gap. But at this rate, Porcelli's going to be catching it within about 2-3 laps here.
Yeah, I would say 2 laps on striking range and maybe 3 to make the overtake. And good fight back from Porcelli right now as we currently speak, because you are within contention of getting that top that P1 spot. Did the mistake going through Dunlop. It is a corner that it's not easy, depending how you, like I said, how you approach that corner, and clawing himself back into top 3 and nearby the top 3 is something that should be commended by the number 2 driver in the track.
And this time by, close enough, maybe thinking about the pass, gonna go for it in the 130R. Boteford covers and Lyon backs out. Wise move there, does he go for it up at the Casio triangle? Boteford once again defends. Lyon this time, sending one around the outside line of the chicane, forces his nose in there at the apex, and that runs Boteford wide, but they both keep it on the track and out of each other.
Somehow, some way to keep it on the track, and Lyon is gonna have to go back at it once again. He has a drive to try to make it into turn number 1. Let's see if he's going to get closer. He points it into the inside. Butterford recovers late, and somehow, some way, Butterford still retains the lead.
Lyon's not done fighting this one out, though. Try the outside of turn 1. Nothing doing. No room for him to make the lunge up around the outside of 2. So up through the S's, John Boteford is going to be safe for 1st place for now, at least until the next straight, which honestly could come at the spoon curve with how aggressive Lyon's being.
Yeah, I can totally see, depending how Lyon gets out of the hairpin, going into spoon, and he can make that move, but he's going to have to rely on a really clean and fast exit against Butterford. So let's see what is going to be the lineup of that number 3 driver.
Kind of missed the apex that time by, so Lyon closed up a bit more, but it wasn't enough for it to actually go for the pass. Boteford was able to utilize some kind of momentum from the top side. So out the 200R, up for the spoon curve. Still holding Boteford. Look a little bit further back on the right-hand side of the screen. That is Marco, Newen, Leto, and Popple all in a bit of a trade here for 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. We've got now Leto, who's worked his way back up to 6th place, was trying to see if he can chase down Lucas Popple for 5th, but he's got to worry a bit more about Frank Newen behind him.
Yeah, I do believe that as well, because All right, I'm gonna be very honest. I'm getting a chill feeling that we might see a 2 wide going to the 130 RS.
Well, it's worth noting that Will Lyons tried it one lap ago. He thought about it, but John Bodeford covered him off and kind of shut the door before he could actually go for it. So Lyons not afraid of making a move like that. I think John Bodeford is more concerned that it might not end terribly well for him. So you see the IndyCar snake now down the front straightaway. Lyons sees an open door, tries to make the lunge, but not close enough up into turn 1. That time by has to kind of back out, and he'll reset this one for the snake as it's commonly dubbed. How about side by side? Yes, behind them with Leto trying to make a move up on Lucas Popple. That doesn't go anywhere though.
That doesn't go anywhere. Nearly opened the door for Nguyen to dive down on the inside, going to the outside, going to the inside of the third leg of the S's. But fortunately for Leto right there is that he just didn't have any run whatsoever to go for that move anyway. So they're going to still be a 4-car train going after Dana, and it looks like Leto got the higher line and grinded a little bit the higher portion of Dana.
And up into the Kobayashi hairpin. Either driver in this train opted to make that dreaded dive bump to the inside. We've seen that a couple of times in past seasons happen with people trying to make those lunges up into the hairpin, but with how short of a straight that precedes it, it usually just doesn't end up all too well, does it? So haven't seen anybody be that desperate just yet, but you never know. We're coming to 6 laps to go this next time by. I would say the possibility is certainly going to be there. Popple missed the apex. Look out for Leto, though, who gets a bit sideways himself, a bit crossed up over himself. How about David Porcelli trying to close up the gap to Timothy Vaughn as well? Makes the move up to 130R for third, and you saw that just up the road. Timothy Vaughn backs out, allows Porcelli up into third place. No move is made here in this train up to 130R either. Here comes Leto trying to look up the inside, around the outside. Excuse me, Lucas Popple into the Casaca triangle. That's going to be neck and neck, and how about the 6-car going to punch through, trying to pick up 5th. Still not over yet. The Popple looking to fight back from the bottom side. Battles on for the lead as well. You can see all over the track for Lyons and Bodeford. 2 great battles elsewhere. And Lyons around the outside in turn 1 gets the race lead away from John Bodeford.
But look at Bodeford fighting back side by side, nearly touching wheels, going to the S's right now. So this could be carnage as they still manage to complete. The Lion has to back out because he nearly went off the grass.
Did go off the grass, went off on the left-hand side, just 2 wheels, but that's lost him about 7/10 up to John Bodeford. So it's fallen apart for Will Lyons, but he'll be able to restack, and with that rate of speed, he'll close up that battle for the race lead. Is not over by a long shot, but what a battle for the race lead, and what a battle as well for Leto to put himself over. Oh! Big moment for Lyons! All sorts of crossed up on the exit of the cake.
What a save. I don't know how much time that he will lose in there, but that is a safe race for sure.
Take a look at this overtake for the race lead, lunging around the outside line, but John Bodeford was not done yet. Took too much speed for the second part, so missed the apex, and that causes Bodeford to now cut back. And how about this, side by side through turn 2 and up through 3, but Will Lyons just went too wide by himself, dipped 2 wheels, and that was that battle done and dusted for the time being.
Yeah, looks like I think Lyons miscalculated or gave too much space. He thought a contact could have happened with Bodeford going through the S's, so just ran off slightly into the grass as Leto, as you can see, made the move on Popple, and now Popple has to fend off the Canadian driver off Nguyen. Nguyen has also defended off Marco going through the outside lane braking, but just couldn't get in there. The Jordan livery driver, unfortunately, now is gonna have to try to live another day with another lap open, trying to make a move on the outside.
And how about Nguyen having to fend off against Mario Marco in the battle for 7th place, squeezing the 12 car around to the outside line. Not going to happen, though. Mario Marco going to have to back off and wait just a little bit more. Frank Nguyen holds on to 7th place, but that was some serious pressure that Marco applied to him. Almost trying to copy the Lions charge around the outside line to take that position away through turn 1. But I think the draft that Nguyen had from Popple just up the road is what helped him to keep in front there.
I agree 100% because of the draft being so strong over here. You can cut some time, but I think you made a mistake and nearly making contact. Woo. So, but the Canadian live to fight on another day, going to Dagner 2 right now. But they got a little bit feisty for our liking right there.
It does not get much closer than that for wheel-to-wheel contact. Marco had about, if Marco hadn't lifted there, they absolutely would have sent each other into the wall. So that was a wise move for Marco to back out there, recognize how perilous of a situation he was in, and kind of react to that accordingly. He'll still have time to work his way out there. There's still going to be 4 laps to go at the line. That's plenty of time to see if he can get that spot back yet.
Yeah, it's going to be basically, I would say, right about 5 minutes roughly, so he can actually get that position back. But it's going to be an interesting battle nevertheless. This is not going to be done and dusted in 1 lap. This is going to go all the way down to the last lap, maybe the last few corners of this race. And it's going to be a very frantic battle, to say the least, as we just saw Porcelli making the move on the one, right?
Oh! Lucas Popple, Fred Nealon getting into it big time already. Popple off and away, wanted to lose as little ground as possible. Leto kind of messed up, 130 yard, got all sorts of crossed up. Popple had reacted, tried to pass by the outside, didn't go anywhere. Fred Nealon couldn't slow down in time. And of course, that is great news for Mario Marco, who worked his way up and was well clear of the whole situation by the time they fully spun around and stopped. So Marco picks up 2 now because of that. He's got no pressure behind him as well for that 6th place.
But I think he has a damaged wing, though, doesn't he?
I'm not sure if he does. I think he actually might have gotten away from that one completely unscathed. There you see the hit from Nealon to turn poor Lucas Popple around. You see Mario Marco just kind of shooting through the middle of that. I don't think Mario Marco actually made any contact there.
Yes, but it kind of fended off our battle a little bit. So, commentator's curse happening once again, done by Lorenzo Bunker. What's the big news?
Take another look at this one. This is on board with Frank Nealon. Here you can see the battle developing up in front, and Nealon tried to sneak to the inside. I don't know if he was trying to. Nealon has a damaged wing for sure. I know that Marco doesn't, but Frank Nealon absolutely would. Ran over the right rear tire. I'm not sure if he was trying to make an overtake there, or if he was just trying to avoid him, couldn't slow down in time. But whatever the case, it's a mistake. It's a mistake that everybody makes at least once or twice throughout their iRacing career. Nobody is immune to it. Everybody has made that at some point. Even guys that race at the pro levels, they've made mistakes like that plenty of times in their rookie careers, I'd imagine.
Oh, of course. It's part of the learning process. You're trying to calculate the distances and try to maximize the speed going through the corners right there. So unfortunately, I think Nealon just miscalculated by a small fraction the entry speed of the corner and got caught by surprise of Popple's and Leto's issue going through the constant triangle.
And all of that has meant that all these battles for positions that we had raging on throughout the first 10 laps or so of this race, they have now kind of fallen apart as Frank Nealon dives into pit road, not opting to want to kind of get crossed up in that battle yet. He was about I think about done with fighting there. I mean, he had the damage on the front wing, as I mentioned before, so you got to come at some point, get that all fixed. I mean, there's no point in staying out there with a broken car if you're just losing a boatload more time than you might like, right?
Yeah, but then again, the thing is, big swing from Ryan outside of Dagner. That it's probably going to open up the door for Porcelli to come in and fight. But I'll be very honest, if I was Nealon right here, I probably would have lost the position only to Setzer and keep that car on track, because what happens, you bring Martino in, and of course still 6 seconds apart, but nevertheless, you don't have a whole lot of ground to make up in 5 for Setzer, because he's about nearly 20 seconds away. No, sorry, not 20, but 10 seconds away. More than 10 seconds.
You see up for the battle for the race lead as well. I mean, so close earlier on in this race. We can see Lion now 2.4 seconds off of John Bodefer, so that gap is only extended since then. Bodefer, I think, when he's not under pressure, was just able to stretch his legs. You can see it even Porcelli now. How about looking to the outside of Will Lion up into second place? The The battle for second starting to rage on, and that's only going to cost Lion even more time now up to John Bodefer. So 2 laps to go. Porcelli's got a shot here at potentially getting second place where he started in this race. Of course, Will Lion took that away from him on the opening lap. Could he maybe get it back here with just 2 to go around the outside? Will Lion just can do nothing about it. Porcelli going to go up in a second now.
Yeah, finally getting back that second place. Porcelli, after the mishap in the start of the race, that was too easy, in my opinion. Given the fact that if Lion fought for the entirety of the race against Bodefer and got really close, I'm starting to wonder if he has some damage or the tires too worn out.
I'm going to be honest. I think he's just burned all of his stuff up, right? I mean, he was pushing so hard. It was taking him everything to try to close up to John Bodefer to the point where we thought they might even collide a couple of times. It just happened to be a bit of an unfortunate mess there that Will Lion found himself in. So Lion and Porcelli going to look to move out of the second place as we get set to close out this race. It also seems just a swap for 5th and 6th place between Mario Marco and Alex Sevian Leto. That was just an overtake as Leto had a bit of another little slide that bumped him down to 6th place. But other than that, no hard, no foul in the battle for 5th place so far, which is already separated apart. So this second place battle is going to be the one to watch here as we get set to close out this race. 1 lap coming up in just a few moments.
And Lion locked up a little bit on the Kobayashi hairpin, trying to make up the ground, but Bodefer's car is so trim towards the latter portion of the stint that I don't think that Lion is going to be able to close down the gap and manage to possibly make the last lap overtake. As now Bodefer is going to open up the final lap, and Porcelli and Lion will follow through. And our car spun around.
And that was routing Moreland in the number 21 car. They just kind of swinged a bit wide to let some lead lap traffic through. It was just taking a seat there. No spin for Moreland. Just wanted to take it a bit more cautious here. Final lap now. You're right on board with Will Lion as he gets set to try to chase down David Porcelli. See if he can retake that second place here on the last lap of this race. It's 2.6 seconds up to John Bodefer, who is just in complete control of this race. You see him just barely at the top of the screen, disappearing around the apexes of the S's here. There is nothing that Porcelli is going to be able to do to catch him. He's got to focus all on defense and keep the Will Lion behind him.
Oh, absolutely, and Will Lyon's putting up a tremendous job going through the outside of the S's, now partially out of the Dunlop, heading to Degner, but he needs a really big run. I don't know where he's going to get that big run, to be very honest with you, Nolan, but if you want to make an overtake, he has to be either here or the sprint curve, because 130R is going to be tricky.
It'll be tricky, but it might be the final opportunity that Will Lyon's got here, because you remember the Casio triangle. It is so difficult to make an overtake around the outside line there. So fingers crossed that Will Lion will be able to make the run up here on David Porcelli. And they still got that long straightaway, the longest straight left for racing on this track here before we get set to close this race out in just a couple of seconds. Can Will Lion have anything for Porcelli coming on up through 130R for the final time today? Porcelli starting to weave left and right, desperately trying to break the draft, and Will Lion not close enough to have a look up through 130R, maybe for the Casio triangle. Only one way to wait and see. John Patefer coming around the Casio triangle now. He'll get set to close out this race. So Patefer will win the race here from Suzuka. 2.7 seconds over David Porcelli, who will hang on to take second place away from Will Lion.
And the Alpine Stars geodesic driver reigning supreme once again. Had a few scary moments with Will Lion right there, and unfortunately for Lion, who just couldn't capitalize on the overtakes in beta for actually reigning supreme. I think his 6th win in the top split this season, so just extending his win margin by basically a whole house and something extra in this season against the other drivers.
What an absolutely great race we had here from Suzuki. Still got a couple of these battles there. It seems they could sort themselves out. This is Fran Neal, who's all the way down now in 10th place after being collected in that incident at the Casio Triangle with Lucas earlier on, just a few laps ago. He is trying to see if he can hang on to a 10th place finish from Pascal Martinez. Battle for 10th and 11th just behind him. Knew he made that spot up earlier this lap. Martin not going to be close up to 130 yards. So long as doing keeps it clean, all things considered, he'll go away with the 10th place finish, which is definitely far from the worst thing in the world at this point, considering how his race went.
Yeah, but it's still going to be a little bit of a letdown to compare the fact that he was fighting for 4th place at one point. So the Canadian driver will have to take the L over here and prepare for next time by whenever we go into week number 9.
Well, next time around, right? Yeah, week number 10. There's always next week. You got Montreal, your home track coming on up, so no doubt Frank Dewey will be able to look for a very good performance at his home facility in just 1 week's time. Just waiting for one more drive to cross the line, but for now, we'll take a look at your official post-race results here for the Suzuka International Racing Course. John Badefer is going to be up on pole position. David Porcelli finishes 2.6 seconds behind him, down in 2nd place. Will Lyon thought about going for the race lead, made that charge run the outside line, but after being pushed off track, he slid backwards and he'll finish in 3rd. Timothy Baum is in 4th place with Alex Seviano-Leto down in 5th place. Mario Marco in 6th place with Lucas Popple in 7th. James Watson sits in 8th, and then a minute behind your race leaders, you got Earl Setzer and Frank Dewey.
Yeah, and Pascal Martineau tried to get into the top 10, but just couldn't. Finished up in 11th place. David Bradley, 12th. Alexander Fullen, 13th. Rowdy Moreland, the first car behind the lead lap, is going to be 14th. Shane Holstein, 15th. Francisco Roman, 16th. Alex May, Jason Pato, Marco Defanti, and Julian Lanas round out the top 20.
And of course, then you got Mark Cooper and Mark Cadmore both finishing 13 laps down in this race. And you can see there is speed of which John Badefer burned it down on the front straightaway, just in behind by the grandstands. But what a thrilling race that we had here today from Suzuka. I mean, next race up, we swing over to Montreal. That is a race that has kind of gone both ways, hasn't it? You've had some more lackluster races there in the past of this series, but we've also had some thrillers there as well. Who knows what Montreal would look like?
Yeah, in Montreal, I think last time we saw was a very interesting race. I think we decided with the fact that you said is a mini Monaco, so you have to be very, very precise with your driving, or it's the wall where glory, just like Bathurst. So it's gonna be interesting. What I'm looking for is Milwaukee. Milwaukee should be a very interesting track with these cars.
A very entertaining track indeed. The next 3 races see us swing back over to North America for the final 3 rounds of the iRacing Indy Pro 2000 Championship. But for now, from Japan, it's time to say farewell. For the crew at RaceSpotTV, for myself, Nola Rempel, Lorenzo Bonder, with Simon in the box, with Kimberly's down behind the cameras, we say a big thank you for joining us for round number 9 here of the Indy Pro 2000 Championship from Suzuka. Badefer finds himself back on top and is looking to defend his crown coming into Montreal.